Hello, everyone. Lee Henson here, president and founder of Agile Dad. I hope you're having an amazing Monday. Without further ado, it's time for the daily stand up. So let's get started. I've had so many people post things on LinkedIn or Facebook or other places talking about can we uninstall 2020 or it's been 90 days, can I have my the free trial's over, can I have my refund, or can we reboot and try to start over again? And, part of it that I find so interesting is that for many years, I've been professing to people that we need to have a time to introspect, that we need to have a time where we can be uninterrupted and take a look at where we are personally, both in our careers and in our lives, and do, our own assessment and say, hey, here's where we are, here's our benchmark, what can we do better? How can we improve our own quality of our personal life? How can we improve the quality of life with our spouse or significant other? How can we improve the quality of our life with our children, with our peers, with the people that we're closest to? And I think that this COVID pandemic, if nothing else, has given us an opportunity to, instead of focusing on resetting and trying to get back to normal, which was hectic and busy and full of work and not full of all the things that were important to us, what would happen if we took an opportunity to, instead of resetting or uninstalling 2020, to look back and reassess and say, hey, what did I do during those 3 months or 4 months where I was down on quarantine or on lockdown to improve my own self-image? What did I do to improve my own skill set? What did I do to improve relationships with my family, with my spouse, with my children, with those that I'm closest to? What did I do to uplift my remote team? What did I do to change the culture where I work? What did I do to improve my Agile framework? There's so many opportunities that have been presented through this 2020 session that I feel like sometimes we're looking at this as a glass half empty instead of a glass half full. It was one of my children who came up to me and said, I hate having this pandemic, but I absolutely love it. And when I called him out and said, why? The answer was, well, you're not always gone. I get to spend this quality time with you. I spend time building workshops and helping with chores and doing things that, I'm never around to do. And while on the surface it may seem like, oh, why do I have to do all this additional work? It gave me an opportunity to really interact and get to know those who are closest to me. Some celebrities have even said, I think it was Jada Smith who said, she didn't even know who Will Smith was until this quarantine happened. Even if you've been married to your spouse for 20 years, a lot of times you don't necessarily have that discovery. You don't know who someone is until you have an opportunity to really know who someone is, which brings an interesting question. So the question I propose today for this session at a Daily Stand-Up is, how well do you know all those people around you, both at home and at work? It's easy for you to say, yeah, I know them. I mean, I remember going into one organization and I asked one of the leaders, I said, introduce me to your highest performing team. And they brought me over and showed me a team. And I stopped them where they were and I said, okay, could you tell me what you know about each other? What do you know about each other? And some of the answers I got were, Ritesh comes in at 10:30 on Wednesdays and Swapnil eats rice most days for work. And I just sat there and thought to myself, these teams hardly know each other. They don't know who they are. I mean, they might know about the skill sets that each of them have, but they didn't know each other well enough to have meaningful conversations. They didn't know each other well enough to have psychological safety or to have a strong work environment. One of the things that I heavily promote is ensuring that we, as Scrum Masters, understand that we are, the resident doctor, if you will. Now, I compare the Scrum Master to a doctor quite a bit because I say that oftentimes people are going to come to them with symptoms, and it's the Scrum Master's responsibility to diagnose those symptoms and to come up with a perfect prescription. And I know that might not be news that everyone wants to hear because, people think as a Scrum Master that your job is to remove impediments or to facilitate meetings or to be present to leadership and to show progress on a project. And oftentimes they fall back into the behaviors of a traditional project manager, where a Scrum Master's main focus should be to do whatever is necessary, whatever is allowed, whatever is within their reach to help the team, to provide them with creativity and with the tools that they need to be successful in whatever product or service they're delivering. Now, That sounds kind of hokey and lofty, but it's true. The successful scrum masters and coaches in the world are the ones who go a step above and beyond, who build those relationships, and who look at things differently. It's easy for us to change out the lens in our sunglass to see things differently, and I think that the big focus for me so far in 2020 has been, instead of seeing a glass as half empty and trying to figure out to myself and to others, what can we do to get back to where we were? My glass is half full, and I look at all the opportunities we have for us to grow. Look at all the things that we're doing different. Look at all the ways that we can accelerate. Look at all the things that are coming up. Look at all the things that are on the horizon. Look at all the ways that we can give back. And I think that sometimes we don't take those opportunities. A wise man once told me that I want to make sure I get this quote right. A wise man once told me, he was a chief executive officer, he said, quote, "Too often we let opportunities pass us by. We don't know enough about each other that we focus on the talent that person has, and we often deny when they offer to assist us with that talent. It's not until we take advantage of that person's gift and accept their talent that we'll learn more about them and ultimately learn more about ourselves. It's important for us to recognize that each of us have been given gifts, and those gifts have been given to us so that we can share them with others and grow both personally and professionally." And I think that sometimes we don't do that. We don't celebrate growing professionally. We don't celebrate growing personally. Sometimes we don't even celebrate at all. So for today's Daily Stand-Up, my challenge for you is to find a way to grow professionally. Find a way to grow personally. Find a way to reconnect with your network. Find a way to look at the glass half full. One of the things that we're doing here with Agile Dad is we've been doing a series of free webinars. We did 3 free webinars in May. We have 2 coming up in June. One is the art of agile estimating and forecasting, where we're really going to hone in and focus on the value of a story point and why it's important and how you can get better. On June 22nd, we're going to introduce a new definitive guide for Agile meetings called the Agile Meeting Playbook. And it's just going to have all the information that you'd ever imagine about, mandatory participants, optional participants, how long should your meeting take, what should be covered, how can we make them run more smoothly. Just a really, really incredible opportunity. On July 6th, we're going to explore a concept called Team John, which talks about how to handle in-sprint interruptions and how to make sure you got those things covered, and how to get your team to run more efficiently, and what steps you could take to make sure you got all your bases covered when interruptions do arrive. Notice I didn't say if interruptions arrive, I said when. And then finally on July 20th, I don't want to go out much further than that, we have one called the Agile 12-Step Program, and it's a pragmatic approach to Agile. It's not all or nothing, but it gives you a guide to tell you where to start, or if you've already started, how to accelerate. So it's either how to begin and where to start, or how to accelerate your Agile learning so that you can be in line and in tune with the things that are most important, so that you can provide the most value for your teams and for your home if necessary. Because a lot of people are starting to apply this at home, which is having really, really cool results. So I think in summary, the most important thing that we can do is give ourselves a self-assessment. And instead of talking down about 2020, let's talk up about 2020. Chin up. It's time for us to accept that we can't change what's already happened, but we can change what's going to happen. And I'm excited for the future and what it holds, and I'm excited to see what you do to uplift yourself, to uplift those around you, and to make 2020 the best year ever. I hope you enjoyed today's session of the Daily Stand-Up. As always, we invite your comments. We invite you to share this podcast with your friends and neighbors and peers. It's always something interesting, always something agile, always something uplifting. And as always, thank you so much. We appreciate you. Without you, this wouldn't be possible. Stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile.